Hi everyone, I am here with a review of Violin Lesson 5, and this week we continue to work on reading and playing the notes on the D string, as well as continuing to practice our bow hold and playing with the bow. So this week I actually got to hear everyone play something for me on their own, and I gave everyone some feedback, some suggestions to keep improving their tone with the bow. So I have a list here of some reminders that I think would be good for everyone. So when using the bow, make sure that you have a beautiful bow hold. So we spent a lot of time working on that last week, and if you're still having questions about it, you can go back and watch lesson review 4. But the reason that we have a bow hold like this isn't just to look good or to look all the same, to look uniform among all the string players. It actually sets you up for success. So it makes everything in your right arm ready to have nice straight bows and to get a good tone. If anything is out of place or turned, it's actually going to make it much harder to play with the bow. So before you do anything, check that bow hold and make sure it's all set, ready to go. Also, to make sure that we are playing in the sweet spot. Remember, that is in between the bridge and the fingerboard, so your bow should be somewhere around here. We don't want to see any bows up here over the fingerboard. That makes it very difficult to stay on just one string. We also don't want to see bows right on top of the bridge. That will create a squeaky tone that you do not want to hear. So keep it right in between the fingerboard and the bridge, right in the sweet spot. Also, make sure you're playing on the correct string. So before you start, check that angle of the bow. Make sure that you are on whatever string you're trying to play. If you're playing on the wrong string, even if you're putting down fingers, none of the notes are going to change. Also, make sure that you're pressing hard enough to grip the string. If you get kind of like a skatey sound where you're not really getting a pitch or a note out of the string, you might not be digging in enough with the bow. You do have to press hard enough to grip the string. And that's something that we will continue to work on in lessons. Also, make sure that you are using enough bow to get a good tone. I saw this one a lot this week, and I'll give a little demonstration so that you can see. A lot of students played like this. And they did everything correct. They had all of their fingers in the right spot. They were in the sweet spot. They had a good bow hold, but they got that crunchy, gritty sound. And it was because they just weren't using enough bow. So when you play, it should look something like this. Okay, for right now, we're kind of avoiding this really bottom part and this really top part at the tip. Generally, beginners are going to want to play just in the middle part of the bow. So that's what we'll be doing for the next several weeks, but making sure that we're using enough bow to get that good tone. We don't want that crunchy sound. And finally, just a reminder to make sure that you loosen the bow when you are finished. That will help keep our bows in good shape for a long time so that everyone will have a chance to use them. For this week, our goal is to make sure that we are good and comfortable with reading and playing these 5 notes. So we have D, E, F sharp, G, and A. So with the exception of the A, all of these notes are on the D string. You change those notes by putting down fingers, right? 1 finger for E, 2 fingers for F sharp, and 3 fingers for G. And then A, you just pop over to the neighboring string, and that's the note A. It's important to make sure that you can play these, but also that you know how to read them on the staff. So making sure that you can look at a piece of music and say, hey, I know that this note is an E, and I play that with 1 finger on the D string. That's going to be so important next week. We're actually going to learn a piece of music altogether called the Peru Blue Boogie, and that uses all 5 of these notes. So really important that we are practicing these notes and knowing how to read them for next week. And that actually is what our homework is focused on. If you're looking for that graphic that I just had, it's actually at the top here on page 7. Okay, but the first thing we're going to look at for our homework this week is number 14. So let me get this back up to number 14. Okay. And so before we do anything, before we play, my suggestion is still to go through and read the note names. And since this is something that we're practicing being more independent on, I would suggest right now pausing the video, trying to read them on your own, and then coming back and we'll do it together. So I'll see you in a couple seconds once you finish reading this. Okay, so hopefully you felt pretty good about reading through all of those notes. Right now, we'll go through and read them together. You can kind of check your answers this way. So here I go with number 14. D, 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 E, F, 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 G, F, 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 E, D, 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 rest. E, 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 F, G, 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 F, E, E, F, F, D, 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 rest. And remember, I'm just saying F instead of F sharp. It makes it a little bit easier when you're reading those notes. So now we're going to practice playing, but before you use your bow, I'm going to recommend that we do a little bit of pizzicato first. That's going to make sure that our fingers on our left hand know what they're doing before we add the bow in. So as we are doing 14, I have a feeling that most of us can read the notes faster than we can play them. So I'm actually going to play a little bit slower right now. I'm going to set up my pizzicato hand, make sure it's on the D string. I'm also going to make sure that my left thumb is over here nice and relaxed and that my fingers are hovering over those spots where they're supposed to be. Here we go with 14, nice and slow. D, 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 E, F, 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 G, F, 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 E, D, 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 rest. E, 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 F, G, 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 F, E, E, F, F, D, 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 rest. Nice. So if you were able to do that, now is the time that you can add in the bow. So remember, before we start, we're going to make sure we have our beautiful bow hold, that our hand is nice and relaxed. We put our middle finger on the middle, pop our pinky to the top, and make sure that thumb is nice and bent and just on the top, or just touching that stick, not in this little notch. So I have my nice bow hold. I'm going to put my bow in the sweet spot, make sure I'm on the D string, get everything with my left hand set up. Here is number 14 with the bow. D, 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 E, F sharp, F sharp, F sharp, G, F, 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 E, D, 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 rest. E, 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 F, G, 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 F, E, E, F, F, D, D, rest. Good. So if that was easy and you think that you're pretty good with that one, we're going to move on to the next exercise. But if that was still challenging for you, and that's okay, this is still brand new stuff, take some time to keep practicing reading the notes and playing the pizzicato and using the bow. It takes some people a little bit longer to catch on to this, and so you just need to show a lot of grit and some little bit of determination to get this down perfectly. We did not do 15 for the homework this week. We actually went down to page 7. Looking at number 16 here. So this time, how about you pause the video, try to read the note names, and try to do the pizzicato part. So I'll see you in a few seconds once you're done with that. All right, back with number 16. This one actually starts on the note G, on 3 fingers on the D string. And you might have noticed there's a sneaky little surprise note over here, the open G string. So we get to play both G's that we know. Let's go through and read our note names. Here we go. G, G, F, F, G, G, E, E, G, G, D, D, G, 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 rest. D, D, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, rest. D, rest. G, 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 rest. Good. I'm going to skip the pizzicato part right now and just play for you what it should sound like. Remember that when we go to play those open Gs, you're going to have to tilt your bow over to the G string to make sure that you change strings for that. So I'm going to set my 3 fingers up. 1, 2, 3. Get my bow ready. And here's 16. G, G, F, F, G, G, E, E, G, rest. D, E, F, G, F, E, D, rest. D, over to G, G, rest. Good. The last two in the homework were number 17 and 18. What I'll do right now is play them for you so you know what they're supposed to sound like, but I'm going to leave the reading of the notes, the pizzicato, and practicing it with the bow up to you. So I'll just play it right now, number 17, so you know what it should sound like when you have your finished product. It starts on the A string. A, D. Rest, rest. D, E, E, F, F, G, G, D. Now go over to A, 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 D, D, E, E, F, F, E, E, D, rest, D, rest. So again, it's more of the same thing with those 5 notes, making sure we really know those notes. Last but not least is number 18. Okay, this one does not start on an open string. That's the one thing that's different about this. It starts on the note E. And again, I'm just going to play this for you so you hear what it's supposed to sound like and leave all of the practicing part up to you. I'm going to get my E ready. Here's 18. E, 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 D, E, 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 F, G, F, E, 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 rest. A, 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 G, F, E, D, D, E, F, E, rest, E, rest. Good. So those are our 4 exercises for homework this week. Continue to practice reading those notes. Continue to practice getting a good tone with your bow. We will continue to work on this in our lessons as well. So happy practicing this week, and I will see you at your next lesson to learn our Peru Blue Boogie.